The next segment is about comparison of ratios. Okay, let's see how do we compare ratios. So as you remember in the beginning I said when you add a constant to a ratio or subtract a constant to a ratio, then the ratio will change. Now we are going to see how will it change, whether it will increase or decrease. Okay, so let us say our ratio is A is to B. Let us say our ratio is A is to B. Now if A is less than B, then adding the same number to A and B, how will the ratio change? So if A is less than B, then we will say that A plus X by B plus X will be greater than the ratio A by B. Okay? So we are essentially saying that if you add a constant to both the terms, in case of A is less than B, then the new ratio will be greater than the original ratio. Okay? And similarly, if you look at this, A minus X by B minus X, A minus X by B minus X, that will be less than the original ratio. Okay? So we are saying if A is less than B, then adding a constant will increase the value of the ratio and subtracting a constant will decrease the value of the ratio. Okay? Let's look at the other case. If A is greater than B, then what will happen? In this case, A plus X over B plus X will be less than the original ratio A by B. Okay? The exact reverse thing will happen here. And in this case, if we have A minus X by B minus X, that will be greater than A by B. So if A is greater than B in the ratio A is to B, then adding a constant will decrease the value of the ratio and subtracting a constant will increase the value of the ratio. Okay? I hope this part is clear. So just let's take a simple example. Out of 3 by 4 and out of 4 by 5, which is bigger and which is smaller? Now you will say that this is a very easy fraction, so we can actually compare and see what is happening. But if I apply this concept here, then we will see, suppose this was my original ratio 3 is to 4. If I add 1 to here, I will get 3 plus 1 is 4. And if I add 1 to here, I get 4 plus 1 is equal to 5. Okay? So I have written this in terms of fraction, but you can also consider it as 3 is to 4. 3 is to 4 is nothing but 3 by 4, right? So see what happens here. 3 by 4, if I take this the original ratio, is A less than B? Yes. So this first part will apply. I have added 1 to the numerator also, 1 to the denominator also. Or let us say we are adding 1 to each of these ratio points. So by adding a constant, the value of the ratio should increase or decrease? It should increase. If you are adding a constant, the value of the new ratio will be greater than the original ratio. So can I say that 4 by 5 is greater than 3 by 4? Okay? This is how you can compare ratios, but you can also use the same concept in comparing fractions. This will help you in quantitative aptitude also, and this can also help you in some calculations where ratios comparisons or fraction comparisons is required. Okay? I hope this concept is clear. All right. So the next segment is about compound ratios. Okay? So let us understand what are compound ratios. Suppose I am saying A is to B is 2 is to 3, and I say that B is to C is 4 is to 5. A is to B is 2 is to 3 and B is to C is 4 is to 5. So we have to find the compound ratio of these two ratios, A is to B is to C. So how do we get the value? Okay, let's understand here. So can we say what is common in these two ratios? The common is B. What is the value of B here? It is 3 ratio points. And what is the value of B here? It is 4 ratio points. Okay? So we have to make sure that these two ratio points are equal. How do we do that? Think about the LCM of 3 and 4. What is the LCM? LCM is 12. So we have to make this also 12 and this also 12. So how can we do that? Multiply this by 4 and multiply this by 3. But you have to multiply 4 throughout. You have to multiply 3 throughout. Okay? So what do we get? 4 multiplied by 2, which is 8, then 4 multiplied by 3, which is 12. 4 multiplied by 3 is already 12. So for B, we have already written 12. For C, we will write 5 into 3, which is 15. So the ratio of A is to B is to C is 8 is to 12 is to 15. Okay. There is a little trick involved if we want to do it the faster way. So I can simply say A is to B is 2 is to 3 and B is to C is 4 is to 5. So if I have to get the value of A is to B is to C, you just have to ensure that the ratios are written in continuation, which means if the first ratio is A is to B, the second one has to be B is to C. So B, this ends with B, this should start with B. Once you make sure that the ratio are in continuation, it is very simple to find A is to B is to C. What you do is just multiply the first parts, 2 into 4, which is 8. Then multiply the second ratio point of the first ratio with first ratio point of the second ratio. So basically crisscross multiplication here. So 3 into 4, what is it? It is 12. And for C, you multiply these two parts. So 3 into 5, which is 15. So this into this gives you the first part, this into this gives you the second part, this into this gives you the third part. So we can easily get this. Okay. Okay, let us try one question here. So that question is question number 2 on the first page. So we have an application of compound ratio here. Let's see how we can do this. So we have three ratios being given here, right? We have A is to B, we have B is to C, and D is to C. Okay. So let us write it here. We have A is to B is 1 is to 2, B is to C is 2 is to 3, and D is to C is 3 is to 4. Just to make sure that these ratios are in continuation, I will write it as C is to D. So if D is to C is 3 is to 4, what should be C is to D? C is to D should be 4 is to 3. Okay, 4 is to 3. What is the question asking for? The question is asking for A is to D only. So the question is not asking for A is to B is to C is to D. We can find A is to B is to C is to D, but the question is only asking for A is to D, which we can solve very easily here. Look at this. A is to B, can we say that it is A divided by B? B is to C, can we say that it is B divided by C? And C is to D is nothing but C by D. Okay, I'm writing it once again. A by B is equal to 1 by 2, B by C is equal to 2 by 3, and C by D is equal to 4 by 3. Okay, my requirement is what? I have to find A is to D, which is nothing but A by D. Think about it. If I multiply these three fractions, what do I get? A by B multiplied with B by C multiplied with C by D. What will happen? A by B multiplied with B by C multiplied with C by D. Can you see B will cancel with B and C will cancel with C? So what are we left with? A by D. So we'll directly get our answer. So what have we done? Multiplied these three fractions. So the same thing has to be done on the right hand side. So it is 1 by 2 multiplied by 2 by 3 multiplied by 4 by 3. So 2 cancels with 2. So we'll get 4 by 9. Can we write 4 by 9 as 4 is to 9? So we'll get the ratio of A is to D as 4 is to 9. Okay. Okay. You will wonder that I have not used this concept here. We could have used that concept here also, but then if we get the answer easily, we don't have to involve this one into this. If I use this one into this, then we would have done, first of all, we would have found A is to B is to C, which would have been 1 into 2, 2 into 2, and 2 into 3. Fine? And then C is to D was 4 is to 3. What is C here? 6. What is C here? 4. So we have to make these two as equal. So what is the LCM of 6 and 4? LCM of 6 and 4 is 12. So make this 12, I need to multiply this by 2. To make this 12, I need to multiply this by 3. Now what do we get? A is to B is to C is to D. 2 into 2, that is 4. 2 into 2, 4 into 2, which is 8. 6 into 2, which is 12. and 4 into 3, which is 12. We have already written that. D will be 3 into 3, which is 9. So the question was asking for A is to D. So what is A is to D? A is to D is 4 is to 9, right? So we can use that concept, but by using this, we have got our answer very, very easily and fastly. Okay? I hope this point is clear. So this was the end of segment about compound ratio. The next segment is about proportion. Now we will briefly discuss what is proportion and then what is continued proportion. Okay, let us look at that. So what is a proportion? Proportion is the equality between two ratios. Okay, proportion is the equality between two ratios, which means if I am saying that A is to B is equal to C is to D, if A is to B equal to C is to D, then we say that these four numbers A, B, C and D, these are in proportion. Then we say that these four numbers are in proportion. This can also be written like this: A is to B is to C is to D. Or it can also be written as A by B equal to C by D. Okay? Now, look at this. How do we define these four terms? A, B and C and D. This is known as first proportional. This is known as second proportional. This is known as third proportional, and this is known as fourth proportional. So first proportional, second proportional, third proportional, fourth proportional. The middle two terms are also known as means. The middle two terms are also known as means, and the terms in the first and the last, they are also known as extremes. Okay, so A and D are also known as extremes, B and C are also known as means. So if you are writing it as A by B is equal to C by D, can I write this as A multiplied with D is equal to B multiplied with C? So this can be written like this, and this can be again written like this. So we can say, we can write this as this, and we can write this back like this. Okay. So what do you observe? A and D. What are these? These are extremes. What is B and C? These are means. So can I say if four numbers are in proportion, then product of extremes is equal to product of means, right? So whenever four numbers are in proportion, product of extremes will be equal to product of means. Fine. So let us say there is an example that we have to find the third proportional of, these three numbers 4, 9 and 13. We have to find the third proportional of 4, 9 and 13. So how do we do that? Let us say the third proportional is x. So third proportional is x, so we will write the terms like this: 4, 9, and let us say third proportional is x and 13. These four numbers are in proportion. Okay. So third proportional, in place of third proportional we have used the variable x. So from this, can I say product of extremes must be equal to product of means, right? So can I say 9x is equal to 13 into 4, which is 52. So what is x? X is equal to 52 by 9. So the third proportion of these three numbers is 52 by 9. So using this, we can find any missing proportional if three proportionals are given. Okay. So this is one property. Product of extremes is equal to product of means. Can I also say that B by A is equal to D by C? Can I also say that B by A is equal to D by C? This process is known as invertendo. Okay. You can take inverse on both sides of the equation. The process is known as invertendo. You can also write this as, so it works both ways, right? You can also write this as D by B equal to C by A. So you can take A here and D here. you can do the other way around also. You can also write B can go here and C can come here. So you can also write this as A by C is equal to B by D. This process is known as alternando. This process is known as alternando. Okay? It is quite possible that you might not have heard about the names invertendo and alternando, but I am sure back in school you would have heard a name known as componendo and dividendo, right? Everybody remembers componendo and dividendo? So it comes from here. So from this, I can also write it this way. So from A by B equal to C by D, we can write A plus B over A minus B is equal to C plus D over C minus D. Okay? This process is known as componendo dividendo. So we can have some questions where we can apply these properties and solve our questions. So this is componendo and dividendo. Okay? So if you apply componendo and dividendo in this part, you will once again get the same thing, A by B equal to C by D. So these are interconvertible, we can say that. Okay, so this is all about a normal proportion, fine. But there is another concept which is known as continued proportion. So another concept is continued proportion. Fine. What happens in a continued proportion? In this case, we say if A is to B is equal to B is to C. So can you say B is continued from the first ratio into the second ratio also? So then we say that these three numbers A, B and C are in continued proportion. Then we say that A, B and C are in continued proportion. So something similar to the previous one, can we say A by B is equal to B by C? Can we write it like this? The same thing can be written as A is to B is to B is to C, right? What is A here? A is the first proportional. What is B here? B is known as the second or mean proportional. B is known as second or mean proportional, and C is known as the third proportional. Okay? Now, if we look at this equation, can I say we can cross multiply? If I cross multiply, what do I get? I will get B square is equal to A into C. B square is equal to A into C. So can I say square of the mean proportional will be equal to first proportional into third proportional, right? Square of the mean proportional will be equal to first proportional into third proportional. So you can write this as mean proportional square is equal to first into third proportional. Okay, let's look at a quick question. If I say find the mean proportional of 4 and 9, find the mean proportional of 4 and 9. So what will be the mean proportional of 4 and 9? We have just seen mean proportional square is equal to first into third proportional. So let us say x is the mean proportional. So can we say x square will be equal to 4 multiplied by 9, which is 36. So if x square is 36, what is the value of x? The value of x will be 6. So can we say the mean proportion of 4 and 9 is 6? Yes. So this is all about proportion and continued proportion. I hope this part is clear. Okay, let us look at one more property. Suppose we had something like this. Suppose we had A by B is equal to C by D is equal to E by F and so on. If we have A by B equal to C by D is equal to E by F and so on. Let us say these are all equal, and suppose these are all equal to a value which is k. Okay, let us say these are all equal to a value which is equal to k. Then we will say that A plus C plus E and so on, the sum of all the numerator values, okay, divided by B plus D plus F and so on, these are also equal to the same value k. The sum of all the numerators divided by sum of all the denominators, that will also be equal to k. And what is the value of k equal to? It is equal to a by b, equal to c by d, equal to e by f, isn't it? So this is also equal to a by b, which is also equal to c by d, which is also equal to e by f, and so on. Okay, I hope this property is clear. So this is all about continued proportion, normal proportion, and this one property. Okay, so after doing this, we are going to start with the next segment. And the next segment, as you see in the topic, we have three parts: ratio, proportion, and variation. We have covered till proportion. The third segment is about variation, and variation is very important because you will not only require the concept in this chapter, you will also require the concept of variation in some other topics. So if you are good with variation, you will find those topics easy to understand. Okay? Shall we start with variation? Let's look at this. So when we have variation, we have three types of variation. Okay? We have direct variation, inverse variation, and also mixed variation. Mixed variation is also known as joint variation. So we'll look at them one by one. So let's look at direct variation and inverse variation first. Okay, we'll write them side by side and compare what is the difference between these two. Direct variation is also known as direct proportionality. Okay, direct variation is also known as direct proportionality. Similarly, inverse variation is also known as inverse proportionality. Okay, fine. So suppose there are two quantities A and B, and we are saying A is directly proportional to B, or we can say A varies directly as B. In case of inverse, we will say A is inversely proportional to B, or A varies inversely as B, right? Suppose the question says A varies as B. If the word direct or inverse is not mentioned, then by default we will say that A varies directly as B. When you say A varies as B, by default it means A varies directly as B, or if you are saying A is proportional to B, it means A is directly proportional to B. So if no word is mentioned, by default it is direct variation or direct proportionality. So direct variation will be written like this: A directly proportional to B. This is the sign of proportionality. And in case of inverse variation, we write A inversely proportional to B is written as A is proportional to 1 by B. This number here is 1. Okay. So this is the sign of proportionality. When you convert in the form of equation, then we have to write it this way: A is equal to some constant multiplied by B. Similarly, here if you write, then it is going to be written as A is equal to some constant into 1 by B. So the constant is to be multiplied on the right hand side of the equation. Okay. This K, the constant, is known as constant of proportionality. Now next step can we say A by B is equal to K, and in this case can I say in the next step A into B is equal to K? Okay, very important. Now let's see what is happening here. We are saying if A is directly proportional to B, then A divided by B is a constant. Okay, and we can say the converse is also true, in the sense that if the ratio of two quantities is a constant, it means that they are directly proportional. Okay, direct proportion means ratio will be constant, ratio constant means they will be directly proportional. Let's see here, A inversely proportional to B. So what do we get here? When it is inverse proportional, then product is a constant. We can say the converse also. If product is a constant, then they are inversely proportional. Okay, direct proportion means product ratio constant, and inverse proportion means product constant. Fine. The significance of this is that if A by B is constant, it means the ratio of A and B is going to be same always, no matter whatever the value of A and B you choose. So you can say A1 by B1 will be equal to A2 by B2, which will be equal to A3 by B3, and so on. So this thing will help us in solving our questions very easily without getting involved in the value of the constant. Okay. Similarly, when you say A multiplied by B is a constant, this implies that A1 into B1 will be equal to A2 into B2 will be equal to A3 into B3 and so on. Okay. I hope till this part it is clear. If the product is constant, if two quantities are directly proportional, the ratio is a constant. If two quantities are inversely proportional, the product is a constant. Okay. Let's understand the general meaning of saying A is directly proportional to B. When you say A is directly proportional to B, it means if you increase A, B will also increase in the same proportion. Okay. Similarly, if you decrease A, then B will also decrease in the same proportion. But there it is a little different. In that case, if you increase A, then B will decrease in the inverse proportion. So, for example, if you make A as double, then B will become half. If you make A as triple, then B will become 1/3. Okay. Similarly, suppose if you decrease A, in that case B will increase in the inverse proportion. So, if I am saying that A is becoming half, it means B will become double. Okay. I hope this explanation is clear. One more thing. If you are saying A is directly proportional to B, you can also say that B is directly proportional to A. It means the same. Okay. Similarly, there if you are saying A is inversely proportional to B, you can also say that B is inversely proportional to A. It means the same thing. I hope this much part is clear. Okay. What we are going to do is, let us look how we can apply this in some questions and get our answers. Okay. So, can we try question number 22 on the second page? Let us try question number 22 on the second page. Okay. What is given in the question? It says area of a circle varies as the square of its radius. Okay. Given that the area of the circle is 180 square feet, when the radius is 6 feet, find the radius of the circle with an area of 245 square feet. Okay. So, let us represent it here on the board. The area of a circle, let us say area we represent it as A, area of the circle, varies as the square of its radius. So, do you see the word direct or inverse in this question? No, right? So, what did I say? If no word is mentioned, by default it will be directly proportional. So, area of a circle varies means area of a circle varies directly as the square of the radius. So, this varies directly as the square of the radius. So, let us say radius is R. So, it will vary directly with square of the radius. Okay. Now, without getting into the equation solving part of it, which means using a constant, we can directly say, can I say here if A and R square is constant, that then the ratio of A with R square is going to be a constant? Same concept. If A and R square are directly proportional, then their ratio is going to be a constant. Which means, can I say A1 by R1 square will be equal to A2 by R2 square, right? Can we write that? Yes. So, we have 4 values here, A1, R1, A2, R2. If you read the question carefully, out of these 4 variables or out of these 4 values, 3 are already given in the question. They are asking you the 4th one. So, we can easily put the values here, do our calculations and get the required answer. So, let us look at this. What is area number 1? Given that area of the circle is 180 square feet, so A1 is 180. When the radius is 6 feet, so R1 is 6. So, in the denominator we have to write R1 square. So, we will write 6 square on the right hand side. What is the second area? The second area is 245. So, A2 is 245. What is R2? It is not known. The question is asking you to find the second radius. So, R2 is not known. So, we will write here R2 square. Okay. Let us solve this. So, what do we get from here? Can I say this is 6 square is 36. Okay. 36, say we can cancel out 180. It will be 5 here. Alright. And from 5 we can cancel out here. This will be 49. 5, say you can cancel out 245, you will get 49 and then cross multiply. So, I get R2 square is equal to 49. So, what is the value of R2 here? If R2 square is 49, R2 must be square root of 49. And what is the square root of 49? Square root of 49 is 7. So, the second radius that we have to find is 7. I hope this is clear. So can you see we have avoided the use of constant here. We can directly get our answer using some basic calculation. If I know this concept that direct proportion means ratio is constant. Okay. I hope this question is clear. So this question was question number 22 on the second page. Okay. Let us look at a couple of more examples related to this. So let's try question number 23. Okay. Let's read the question. Let us see what has been given and what is required. Fine. It says a diamond falls down and breaks into 3 pieces. A diamond breaks down and falls down and breaks into 3 pieces whose weights are in the ratio 2:3:5. So the ratio of the weights of the 3 broken parts is being given. So it is 2:3:5. The value of the diamond is proportionate to, again proportionate to means directly proportionate to, okay, to the square of its weight. So value of the diamond is directly proportional to square of the weight. So V stands for value, W stands for weight. Fine. If the value of the original diamond is 20,000, then what is the loss in the value due to the breakage? Okay. We have to find the loss in the value due to the breakage. Fine. So let us look at the 3 broken parts. What is the ratio of their weights? 1:2:5. Sorry, 2:3:5. 2:3:5. So this is the ratio of weights of the 3 broken pieces. Okay. This question again we are going to solve without the use of the constant. So let's look at this. These are the weights and the ratio of the weights. Fine. But value is proportional to what? Is it proportional to weight or something else? The value is proportional to the square of the weight. Okay. So can I say the value of these parts or broken parts will be proportional to the square of the weights? So without using the constant, can I say if the weight is 2 ratio points, if the weight is 2 ratio points, then the value must be proportional to 2 square, which is 4 ratio points. Okay. So this value must be equivalent to 4 ratio points. Similarly, for the weight 3, the value must be proportional to 3 square, which is 9 ratio points. Fine. And for 5, which is the ratio of weights, the third part of it, for 5, the value will be proportional to 5 square, which is 25 ratio points. Okay. So can we say the value will be in this ratio 4:9:25? Fine. So what is the total value of the 3 broken pieces in terms of ratio points? Can we say the total value of the 3 pieces? Can we say it will be 4 plus 9 plus 25? What is 4 plus 9 plus 25? It is 38. So can we say the total value of the 3 broken pieces is equal to sum of these 3, which is 38 points. Points means ratio points. Okay. 4 ratio points, 9 ratio points, 25 ratio points. Okay. Now tell me, if I am taking the weights as 2, 3 and 5 of the 3 broken pieces. Okay. So what was the weight of the original piece? What was the weight of the original piece if I am taking the weights as 2, 3 and 5? So can we say the weight of the original piece was 2 plus 3 plus 5? How much is that? 10. So what was the value of the original piece? Value of the original piece. What is the value proportional to? Here, value is proportional to square of the weight. So if weight is 10 ratio points, then the value must be equal to 10 square, which is 100 ratio points. Okay. Fine. What is given in the question? There is a numerical value which is given. It says the value of the original diamond is 20,000. So the value of the original diamond is 100 ratio points. Can I say this 100 ratio points must be equal to 20,000? Yes. So what is the value of 1 ratio point? It will be this divided by 100. So this divided by 100 is 200, right? The value of 1 point is 200. What is the loss in the value of the diamond because of the breakage? That is what they are asking. Can I say the loss will be equal to the value of the original diamond, which is 100 ratio points, minus the value of the 3 broken pieces total, which is 38 ratio points. ठीक है, पहले टोटल वैल्यू 100 पॉइंट्स था और अब टूटने के बाद तीनों पीसेस का मिला के भी इतना ही रह गया है. So what is the loss in the value in terms of ratio points? 100 minus 38. So 100 minus 38 ratio points. How much is that? 62 ratio points. And we just now calculated that the value of 1 ratio point is 200. So what is the value of 62 ratio points? 62 into, so I am using this value here, 200. So can I say this is 62 into 2, which is 124, followed by 2 zeros. Okay. So this is my final answer. So the loss in the value of the diamond is 12,400. Fine. So answer is option number 2. So this we were discussing question number 23. Okay. Now let's look at the third example. Let us try question number 24. So let us read that question. What does the question say? It says the total expenses of a hostel consist of 2 parts. One part is fixed and the other part varies directly with the number of occupants. Okay. When it had 180 occupants, its total expenses was 1,92,000. When it had 240 occupants, its total expenses was 2,16,000. Find its total expense when it had 270 occupants. Okay. So let's represent the data here. What is given? Let's represent it here. So it is saying question number 24 says that the total expenses of a hostel, let's say total is represented by T, consists of 2 parts. One part is fixed and the other part is the variable part, which varies directly with something. So let's say that variable part is V. Okay. Now this variable part, it is given that it varies directly with the number of occupants. Let's say n is the number of occupants. Okay. So let us first try to make an equation. So can we say V will be equal to some constant multiplied with n, right? And if I put the value here, I will get total is equal to F plus, instead of V, we can write K into n. Okay. What other informations are given? Let us read. It says when it had 180 occupants, its total expenses was 1,92,000. So can we write 1,92,000 must be equal to F plus K into, what is the total number of occupants in this case? 180. Okay. Second equation can be made like this: 216,000, 2,16,000. That should be equal to F plus K into, how many occupants were there? 240 occupants, right? 240 occupants. So what do you see? Is it not 2 equations, 2 variables? So it is F plus 180K is equal to 1,92,000 and F plus 240K is equal to 2,16,000. Is it not 2 equations, 2 variables? Can you solve this and get the value of F and also get the value of K, right? Once you get the value of F also and K also, then this will be known, this will also be known. The moment you get a new value of n, you can put the values here and get the total expenses, isn't it? So the question is asking for find the total expenses when it had 270 occupants. So we'll know the value of F, we'll know the value of n, it will be 270, we'll know the value of K from here, and then we can find the total expenses. Okay. This is one way of solving this question. But we can solve this question very easily without getting into these equations. Okay. Let's see how to do that. So this 1,92,000 and the second expense is 2,16,000, right? Okay. This is for how many occupants? This is for 240 occupants. Sorry, 180 occupants. And this is for how many occupants? 240 occupants. Why is the expenses increasing? the expenses is increasing only because of the number of participants, right? Because the other thing is fixed. The fixed part is not contributing to the increase in expenses, only the variable part is contributing. What is the variable here? Variable is the number of occupants. Can you see that by extra 60 occupants, how much is the expenses increasing? The expense is increasing by 1,92,000 here, 2,16,000 here. So if you subtract this minus this, you will get 24,000, isn't it? So can we say for 60 occupants, the expenses must be 24,000? So what is the expenses for one occupant? For 60 occupants, the expenses are 24,000. So for one occupant, it must be 24,000 divided by 60. So let's divide that. So it cancels out, we'll get 400. So the expenses for one occupant is 400. Now look at this. We already know that expenses for 240 occupants, right? It is equal to 2,16,000. So from going from 240 to 270 occupants, how many extra occupants are there? There are 30 extra occupants, right? 240 plus 30 is 270. For 30 extra occupants, how much of the extra expenses should be added? It will be 30 multiplied with per occupant, it is 400. So which is equal to 12,000. So can we say for this 30 extra occupants, the extra expenses will be 12,000? So what is the total expense? 2,16,000 plus 12,000, which is 2,28,000. So this is my final answer for 270 occupants. So without getting into equation solving also, we can get it easily using this method. Okay. I hope this part is clear. Now let us look at the third type of variation, which is mixed variation. Okay. So what is a mixed variation? Mixed variation will happen when we have more than two quantities to compare. Okay. When we have more than two quantities to compare. So for example, if I am saying that A is directly proportional to B, now we have three quantities, A, B and C. So if A is directly proportional to B and A is inversely proportional to C, okay. Let's say this information is given, A is directly proportional to B and A is inversely proportional to C. Then the joint variation or the mixed variation for these two. So we are discussing mixed variation. So the mixed variation for these two will be left side A will remain common as A and right hand side has to be multiplied. Okay. Left side common A will remain A, the right hand side has to be multiplied. From these two, I will get that A is proportional to B over C. Okay. Can I write A is equal to K into B by C? Then can I write A into C divided by B is equal to a constant? So which means we can write, as in the previous examples of direct and inverse, A1 C1 by B1 must be equal to A2 C2 by B2. Okay. A1 C1 by B1 will be equal to A2 C2 by B2. You can directly also write this. So once we understand that A and B are directly proportional, so the ratio of A and B must be constant. And when we say A and C are inversely proportional, then the product of A and C must be constant. Okay. So this must be constant, which means A1 C1 by B1 will be equal to A2 C2 by B2. Okay. I hope this part is clear. Let us look at an example where we can use the application of this. So that question is question number 25. So let's read the question number 25, and we'll solve this. So what is given? Question number 25. It says X varies directly with Y. Can we write X by Y will be a constant? Okay. X by Y will be a constant because they are directly proportional. So the ratio is constant. Fine. And inversely with square of Z. X varies inversely with square of Z. So can we say X multiplied with Z square must be a constant? So this is a constant, which means x1 into z1 square by y1 will be equal to x2 into z2 square by y2. So how many values do you see? 6 values, right? Out of these 6 values, how many values are already given in the question? 5 values are already given in the question. So can you put the values here and get the required value? They are asking you to find the value of x if y is y is 8 and z is 6. So you can put the values here and get your answer. Okay? I'm sure you can do those calculations. So the answer for this question will come out to be 30. Okay? The answer will come out to be 30. So just to revise, we have done ratio, proportion and variation. So we have learned the concept of ratio, the concept of compound ratio, the concept of ratio points. We have also learned what is proportion, continued proportion, and in the end we have learned what is variation and its application. Okay? Thank you so much.